Okay, so with this video, I want to talk about something long term. Who knows when, what year, where we'll all be at when these actual things come to fruition, but I wanted to talk about the long-term fate of the Straw Hat Pirates, each individual Straw Hat, what's going to kind of happen to them by the end of the series, what I think they're going to be doing, and not necessarily most important, but definitely a big thing is, who, if any of the Straw Hats, do I see dying at the end of the series? Because, let's be honest, you know, it's kind of a, I don't even want to say 50-50. Personally, I think there's a high probability that none of the Straw Hats is going to die by the end of the series, because Shueisha, Shonen Jump, they probably going to want to keep One Piece alive and well, even well after Eiichiro Oda finishes the manga. Maybe they'll do a spin-off and have a lot of them around and use them as kind of like the cast to, hey, look, this new pirate on a journey or some shit like that. So let's be honest here, there's a high probability that we won't get any, you know, deaths within the Straw Hats. However, if there are deaths in the Straw Hats, let's address them. But most importantly, let's talk about what's going to happen with each Straw Hat by the end of the series. Let's start off with Luffy, I guess, right? One of the big ones, right? Now, to be honest with you, I see two different things happening. I see either A, which, by the way, I highly doubt that by the end of the manga, after, you know, Luffy accomplishes everything he wants to accomplish, it's going to be some sort of typical Shonen Jump thing where, oh, and Luffy's going to go on more journeys to come. If it happened that way, it'd be kind of like, what? You know what I'm saying? So more than likely, you know, he'll be established, of course. He'll be the Pirate King at some given point, and he'll find the One Piece and all that shit. So I'm imagining that that's going to happen by the end of the series. But exactly what's going to happen with him, I think out of all the Straw Hats, he's one of maybe 3 that I could see dying. I think a lot of us expect, or not hope for, but kind of, again, I guess expect would be the word to use, that Luffy will be the one to die, or one of the people to die, and possibly in a similar fashion to what happened with Roger, how he was executed and shit like that. Obviously, it's a far ways down the road to say how it'll happen, if he'll actually be captured, or he'll give his life to rescue his Nakama. Maybe, who knows, all the Straw Hats will be captured at some given point, and Luffy does a trade. Hey, you want the King of the Pirates? Let my crew go and you can have me instead. Something along the lines of that. That's a possibility. So I see one of the possibilities definitely is Luffy dying in a similar fashion to Roger, or him becoming the Pirate King, and who knows, maybe he disappears never to be seen again after some big war or some shit like that, and it's just like the legend of Luffy, right? So there's a couple possibilities there. Again, mainly a big, you know, death would be Luffy's death, but you got to kind of question, like, well, will Shonen Jump allow Oda to do this? Because no matter how awesome Oda is their call at the end of the day, and I'm sure, again, they're going to want that One Piece money to continue on, and that's just a reality. So Luffy, it'll either be a big death or something where it'll be so vague that it'll kind of be like, you know, what actually happened. But of course, Oda will make sure to spin it into something really awesome, because he usually does. So that's what I see more or less with Luffy, either a big death or disappearing, or something along the lines of maybe he just becomes an incredible figure within the One Piece world, possibly changing things again after a big war, and he's just kind of like a living legend that from time to time people see, but for the most part it's like he's not out there anymore on a journey and a mission. Or maybe he'll go the way of Roger in a sense of, yeah, okay, Roger's dead or whatever, but who knows? There's so many mysteries in One Piece, you just never really know, right? And I never like to completely say, yeah, this is what's gonna happen, especially with Luffy, because Oda just has, you know, crazy ideas. So that's more or less what's going on with what I think anyway is gonna happen with Luffy by the end of the series. Let's talk about Robin. Robin, I kind of see her, to be honest with you, just traveling the world, similar to like if you want to go with Sasuke from Naruto. At the end of Naruto, you know, he goes and he travels the world. Obviously, his road was a road of redemption. I just kind of see her journeying out throughout the world, just being curious and wanting to learn more and follow more and just get more knowledge. Because Robin is the type of person, she wants to gather knowledge, and, you know, she's reading the poneglyphs and shit like that. So maybe there'll be more mysteries in the future that she wants to check out, or she just wants to journey the world in general. Maybe she'll be free from, you know, the wanted posters, so to speak, so she won't necessarily have to worry, because again, we don't know everything that's going to happen. For all we know, by the end of the series, the world government will be completely abolished in a sense, or changed completely, where, okay, Robin, she's a pirate, right? But maybe they'll completely exonerate her from everything that she's done up to this point, which you gotta argue, well, how much bad things has she really done to the point where it's like there's no turning back or whatever. So you gotta kind of wonder there, how free will she be? But I just see her journeying the world. That's the best thing that I personally think will happen with Robin. Of course, unless all the Straw Hats die, which that's never gonna happen. Robin will probably travel the world. Then Nami. Nami's an interesting one because, you know, she's a money getter, she's a go-getter, shit like that. Personally, I see her not necessarily to an extent that it's obnoxious or that it'll completely change the character, but I somewhat see her being kind of vain in a way by the end of the series and just having mad stacks of money, not having no boyfriend or anything like that. If she does have a boyfriend, it'll be like Sanji or something, but Oda said he's never going the couples route with any of the Straw Hats. He doesn't really like to dive into romance, so it probably won't be anything like that, but I just see her having mad stacks of money, living a very lavish life. Again, if she is still a wanted person by the end of the story and they haven't overthrown the government or got rid of shit like that, then she'll still have to be like low-key, but I see her being essentially a trap queen, so to speak, you know what I'm saying, just having mad stacks of money and being filthy, disgustingly rich by the end of it. Maybe, you know, of course she's still going to be Nami and she's still going to have a good heart, but she's going to have mad bread and just be money out the ass, maybe a big ass mansion or some shit like that. That's what I see with Nami. I mean, she's a money person, she's a go-getter, she's always been after that shit, so she'll have mad money, still have a good heart, possibly still keep in contact with a lot of the Straw Hats, or if not all of the Straw Hats, depending on who dies, who lives, what goes on with all of them and shit like that, but she'll still be in contact with them, but I just see her being filthy rich. With Chopper, I could see a couple different things happening with Chopper. I could see Chopper wanting to more so embrace his animalistic instincts and potentially like, hey, you know, I want to be with my comrades, even though I'm not necessarily normal like them anymore because, you know, I ate this devil fruit and I'm partially human now, whatever. I would be curious to see Chopper kind of either go that route and just say, yo, I'm gonna be a complete reindeer, I'm gonna be a deer or something like that and be out in the wild with my people. Or I could definitely see him potentially being an underground doctor, like opening up his own underground hospital, or again, if he's not wanted, because I gotta keep saying that we don't know how One Piece is gonna end with these wanted posters and pirates and people being sought after and shit like that. I see him just being a big time doctor, or possibly even having a local little small practice just to help people in need, because he's a doctor, right? He loves doing that shit. That's his passion. And what happened in his past, I could definitely see him wanting to help the people that need it the most. So maybe he'll have a small local practice and do something like that, or go with his animal instincts and just be out in the wild with his people. Either or, that's kind of where I see Chopper going with it, unless, you know, again, something crazy happens, because there's just so much story to go through. Frankie is an interesting one, because Frankie, let's see, he's a big pervert. Maybe, who knows, and crazy theory, maybe he'll become like a swimsuit model by the end of all this shit, because Frankie loves it, whatever, but at the same time also, he's a cyborg now, so maybe he'll become like the next Vegapunk in a sense, you know, he'll become a world-renowned scientist of some sort and have some crazy experiments, or maybe he'll become a world-renowned shipwright, or maybe just have a small place and just drink booze all day and pose all day, or maybe, depending on what happens with One Piece, I could see Frankie becoming some fucking drunk or some shit and just being like, man, after everything happened, you know, he's like drinking all the time, he still likes to be a little silly from time to time, but I could see Frankie having that type of outlook of kind of being down if shit really hits the fan, like, you know, they haven't seen Luffy in 10 years and, you know, he doesn't know what the fuck happened and he's depressed, something bad happened. I can see Frankie being in that route. I know maybe that's a little bit dark for Frankie, but he just seems like, out of all of them, the more, not necessarily manly type, but, and it's weird saying this because, you know, he's half robot and shit, but he's more human-like in a sense, and more realistic in a sense, that I can see him going down that route. It's a dark route, but for some reason I just kind of feel that with Frankie. Again, crazy theory. Brook. Because Brook, he's been around longer than everybody, you know, if I'm not mistaken, he said, oh, I remember that little upstart Roger and shit like that. What's going on with Brook, it's kind of hard to really pinpoint it. Will he finally die? And what I mean by that is, like, you know, something's going to happen where he can no longer be immortal in a sense, regarding just continuing on in life or whatever. So maybe either something could happen to him where he will permanently die, you know, if they get into a big fight with people that they just can't handle and he separates his soul from his body and he can't get back to it, or not necessarily body, his bones, you know what I mean? Like, so I can see something like that happening. Or maybe Brook will just be around there, continuing to be a musician, be a big star like he was in the time skip, something along the lines of that. That's a possibility with Brook. I mean, Brook is like, because I don't see him necessarily dying. He's very popular, and again, I just don't see Shueisha letting it happen, but I could see him going back to music, or potentially, you know, just dying, you know what I'm saying? Some big battle happens, and he's finally, like, fucked up, and he can't come back, you know what I'm saying? So, there's a possibility there. Brook's a little bit of a tricky one. I don't really have a pinpoint thing for Brook, but I see either music or death, but not really the death. Like, that's one of the least ones out of the people that I'm going to be mentioning that I think will die. Brook is, like, the least likely. I just see him becoming, once again, a big musician. Sanji, maybe he opens up his own restaurant. maybe he goes back to working with Owner Zeph, or, you know, just chilling with Owner Zeph, something along the lines of that, because cooking is his passion, even though he has proclaimed that he only wants to use these hands to cook for his crew, his captain, and all of them. I mean, if his crew and his captain's gone, who knows? Maybe there'll be a giant time skip in One Piece where Sanji will go a decade without cooking anymore, and he'll just kind of be doing his own thing as well. Like, Sanji's another tricky one, because we've been diving a lot into Sanji lately. We originally thought we had, for the most part, the extent of his past with Owner Zeph and shit like that. Then we find out more about his family and stuff, so who knows? Maybe he'll run into his family again. Maybe some of his family will have died off, and maybe he'll be chilling with his sister from time to time, or maybe he'll just go to Fishman Island and respect the fuck out of some mermaids, you know what I'm saying? Maybe that, or, you know, if he finds his all blue, maybe he'll be content and not really be around like that. With Sanji, it's like, I could see him possibly either being with just hella woman, completely stop cooking if something drastic happens in between, like some sort of time skip, or opening up a big restaurant and being with Owner Zeph. I don't necessarily see him working under Owner Zeph anymore, but more so maybe just opening up a giant restaurant, and it just depends again too if he's wanted, because can't have a big ass restaurant and, hey, I'm a pirate that's wanted by the world government. I see Zorro being a vagabond. I honestly see Zorro being, at the end of One Piece, he's a renowned swordsman, possibly named the best swordsman in the world, and I just see him roaming around the world lost. Honestly, it'll be sad and tragic, and he'll be another one kind of like Frankie, where I can see Zorro just drinking booze, not giving a shit, because One Piece, like, don't get it twisted, yeah, Oda does have to meet certain requirements with Shueisha and Shonen Jump, but there's a huge possibility that some dark and sad shit will happen, and Zorro will be disinterested in everything and just kind of be like, I'm not a big swordsman anymore, and just be drinking and lost in the world. That's kind of where I see it going for Zorro. Not necessarily completely tragic, but I see Zorro just being lost and wandering around. That's just really it, and drinking, and maybe, you know, people come at him, he'll be a little more ruthless or savage, but that's about it with Zorro, and I don't see him dying at all either, but you never know. And lastly, I wanted to save this for last, because aside from Luffy, the only other person that I truly see dying is Usopp. And I'm gonna tell you why. He wants to be, like, known as a brave warrior throughout the seas, right? He wants to be a big time dog, whatever. What better way, or what bigger of a way than dying a heroic death, saving his crew, or dying a very savage and warrior-like death, and he'll truly be God Usopp. Now, again, the Straw Hats in general, I feel as though, at the very least up until the end, absolutely, they're plot protected. None of them are going to die, but he's the one that I could see out of all of them potentially dying in a very awesome and brave way. I don't want it to happen. I don't really want any of the Straw Hats to die, but that's the one out of all of them that I kind of see dying and just being known as a legend from here on out. He already has a lot of clout with a lot of people as God Usopp and this big warrior and shit like that. And that's how I see him being cemented and even worshipped for years to come as this amazing warrior having some brave shit done at the end of One Piece. But I'm kind of curious, really interesting discussion in my opinion. What do you think is going to happen with all of the Straw Hats? How do you feel their endings are going to be? Do you see any of them dying? Do you think I hit the mark with any of these Straw Hats of where they're going to go and how they're going to be at the end of One Piece? Any overall thoughts of this? But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and stalk my Facebook to get more when the video ends. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.